Well, I'm an Orlando girl. I've lived here pretty much my whole life, since I was about 2. And so I've really kind of watched Orlando grow up. And I come from a family that really enjoyed food. My grandmother, the Italian side, really was a fantastic cook, and she would, make her own Kahlua. And I just remember her dinner parties, and I remember her being like this community person, always active, and I feel like I really take her footsteps. And so when I designed my catering business, I started, with Tonda's Kitchen, and that was actually a name of a restaurant that my dad had when I was a baby in Rhode Island. And so he called it Tonda's Kitchen. And so as I kind of came into this world of food, it was only the natural kind of choice to go with. But I love food, and I love wine, and I love bringing people together. Very passionate about what happens around the dining table. I think that that's where people enjoy life. That's where they celebrate. That's where families come together. And that's what you do when you're celebrating something. You sit, you dine, you eat, you drink, you enjoy. And I love that. And so I just kind of wanted my life to resemble and be focused around that. And that's food. Well, I never actually went to culinary school. I don't have any degrees. I never even took a cooking or any kind of cutting class. This has all just been something that I've just kind of self-taught. And I think what it was me just being in the food and beverage industry my whole life and really enjoying food and coming to realize what these flavors are when you go to like a new place. I did come from a family who enjoyed food, but they weren't very diverse. And so as I was young and starting to get into restaurants, really just waiting tables to, pay for whatever my living was at the time. But I started to notice things that I had never tasted before, and that made me, it just kind of like provoked this quench to satisfy learning about all kinds of things. I got into wine. And that kind of really defined where it was I wanted to work, because the serious restaurants with a great wine list usually have great chefs with great food. And so that kind of all just came together like that. And then I was thrown into catering actually by a friend of mine who needed help for a party, and he knew that I liked cooking. So he asked me to help, and that was fine. And then before you knew it, somebody else says, "Oh, I hear you do catering." And I'm like, no, I don't. You're mistaken. But then that transpired into like jobs lining up. So I kind of went with it. That was 2005. I actually incorporated my business in 2011, IRS. But then it just kind of really blew up that way. The cheese aspect, though, was really when things that was the aha moment for me. Learning about cheese. I opened up I don't know if I can say it, but I opened up the wine room on Park Avenue in 2006 as their cheese buyer, only because on my resume it said that I had catering experience. And they said, well, you've got culinary experience. We need help in our deli. Like, what's a deli? I don't even know what a deli is. I live in Orlando. And that's how it happened. I didn't know that sheep made milk. I didn't know how to pronounce manchego. I'm serious. I had to learn, and nobody could teach me. So I kind of just did it on my own. And because of my love for food and flavors and my understanding of wine, and my palate was defined, it really just became this epiphany that I was enamored with. And then I needed to teach everybody because this was cool stuff, So that's kind of how it all happened. It's just been my journey, and I'm still pinching myself that this is where I've taken it at this point. I don't call myself a cheese expert, but I guess everybody else knows less than me, so they call me the expert. I'm humbled by that, I know experts, and they are truly experts. I am working on becoming, certified, which would at least give me some type of credential that I'll be proud of. I don't need it for what I'm doing, other than just for myself, my own sense of pride. Since I have no other culinary degree, I feel like that would be the one that I could, at least for myself, just be proud of. But that doesn't make me an expert at all. So I think I've just been studying this now since 2006. This is 2015. My gosh, we're going on 9 years. And, it's just kind of been my life and my passion. I think that the more you taste and the more you read and the more cheeses you are exposed to, the more of an expert you become in the field. And I've had a lot. And so I guess maybe that's what it is. It's kind of like asking me what my favorite song is. And I always kind of relate that question, I get it all the time, to music, because people understand that. There's different genres of music. And so there's different styles of cheese. You've got your fresh cheeses, your bloomy rinds, you've got cheeses that are washed rind, you've got your semi-firm, your semi-hard, your aged cheeses, crunchy, blue cheeses. And, those are your basic styles of cheese. So then you start to break it down from those categories, like you would from rock and reggae and R&B, whatever. And of course I have different producers that I enjoy as well as like musicians. But I would say, like, for a blue, the Rogue River Blue is fantastic. It's from Rogue Creamery out in Oregon. It's wrapped in Syrah grape leaves that are marinated in pear brandy. It's sticky, it's gooey, it's hard to get, it's seasonal, and it flies off the shelf. It's expensive, but whew, it's really good. So that's one. As far as soft cheeses, my marinated feta that I have here at my shop from Meredith Dairy in Australia is hands down the best feta I've ever had, and I think that best feta that the entire market's ever had. It's the one cheese that flies out of my case the most. I do love crunchy Goudas. I love cheeses with complexity. And I went to France this past summer, and I was able to try some cheeses that we can't get over here. And not even just because of the raw milk and that they're not aged enough, but even like I had a 24-month Comté that was absolutely mind-blowing. Such complexity. Those Alpine cheeses really always carry a lot of complexity. I don't know, those are a couple, but it really is hard to kind of just nail down one. Let me just talk about East End Market for a second, because East End Market is a destination. If you love food, you have to come here because it's interesting and it's different, and you can get everything from your local bread to your local coffee roaster to the fresh organic cold pressed juices. I mean, I live off of them every single day, and there's just a ton of reasons to want to come here. Then we have this beautiful courtyard. Then we have a great event space upstairs, and we do fantastic events. This is a hub of food, and so you need to come here anyway. Why do you need to come see me? Well, I might have the best grilled cheese ever. And, we have a really interesting setup in our shop. I've got a great little bar with a couple of seats. You can go get a glass of wine at the neighbor place next door to me and come back over, and I will pair your cheese board that you order with what you're drinking. You don't get that in other places. In fact, there's not a whole lot of cheese shops around here in Central Florida. There are places that sell cheese, but they're not dedicated to cheese like I am. And you'll be lucky if you find anybody who knows anything, or that will sit there and teach you and take the time to serve you the cheese the correct way, allow you to taste it before you buy it. And get just as excited as I am, as my staff is, and as the clientele that comes into East End Market. These are people that understand food, that really appreciate, and this is why they're here, that we've built them a little hub that they can come and explore and learn and thrive and enjoy. Well, I've been teaching classes now since 2008. So I got in the business about 2006, started learning, immediately was just neurotic about needing the cheese and the wine to come together. So started really putting together a class structure in 2008 at another wine shop that I was working at, and there we developed a really cool class, and we would sell them out every single month. And it was just my way of bringing in new cheeses to that wine shop and being able to taste everybody on them. You know, we offered a cheese plate, so it was just the rotation of bringing in new cheeses every month so that there would always be something new and fresh. But that really expanded and it really blew up, and before you knew it, you know, Fox 35 is asking me for interviews, and I'm being featured at Epcot Food and Wine Festival, and you know, then John Rife here at East End Market called me and said, hey, you need to open up a shop. So it was all really, all of the exposure that I got was because of my classes, because of my desire and my passion to just teach people about it, because I was just such a geek about wine and cheese. So the classes that I'm still teaching them, of course, it's kind of like my baby. I've partnered up with quite a few people, different wine companies, different wine reps, producers. I've had winemakers in my cheese classes. I've had cheesemakers in my cheese classes. I've got Quantum Leap Winery, which are some of my favorite people in the world, just around the corner, and they do wonderful wines, and we partnered a lot together. We have a class coming up pretty soon with wine, cheese, and chocolate, and we partner up with Peterbrooke Chocolatier out of Winter Park. We've done that particular class. I think this might be our 5th time. They're always different, but they're always around that premise of wine, cheese, and chocolate, and how beautifully they all pair. It's just so much fun, and people get really excited. Classes always sell out, and it's just a really fun time to explore the different flavors and teach the community, which is my favorite thing to do. Cheese makes you happy. Say cheese. Like you can't say the word and not smile. So I think that that's pretty awesome, and that's another reason why I'm like, I just want to have a happy life. I'm just gonna smile all the time. I'm gonna say cheese. I'm gonna work with cheese.